Hello and welcome to Bible FPL, a review of Game Week 15, a look ahead to Game Week 16. As you can see from the title, the team is still doing well. We're still in the top 10k. Okay, this game week wasn't as good as the previous ones. We had a bit of a decline in rank, but we're still there or thereabouts. We're still looking good. There was a few little moments of real success. Otherwise, there was a lot of blanks to be fair this week for the Bible FPL team. The main team actually did a lot better, which is where the Bruno stuff comes in. Foden getting a return was obviously nice on the Bible FPL team, and it was kind of the little wins on this team that I kind of had to really appreciate this week. So going into Monday night, Calvin Bassey was stuck on 9 DEFCON, which he was on for literally 30 minutes of the Palace game, and he's the one I brought in for Gahey as well this week, who obviously scored a goal last minute. So that was brutal. Also, Dorgu started on the bench, right? So I was on for Lucas Perez getting having a -3 pointer coming in for Dorgu if Dorgu wasn't didn't get any minutes. And basically at the end of the United game, Dorgu came on for a 1 point cameo, which felt huge because it was a 4 point swing to basically prevent Lucas Perez from coming in for -3. And then also Bassi had a late review on Opta and got given the DEFCON 3 points. So sometimes in FPL you've got to appreciate the little things. You've got to be grateful for the small wins as well as the big wins. And genuinely the Bassi DEFCON and the Dorgu blocking the Pires was as satisfying for me as Bruno getting his 18 points on the main team, which again we'll talk about a bit later. In terms of the short Bible talk, which we'll do, and then we'll get into. There's lots of fantasy football content I'm going to bring in this, but I'm going to try and do it shortly and concisely in a way that's helpful and I don't waffle too much. So we'll do the Bible talk now. If you're new to the series, I always do a short Bible talk in relation to a player's name that has returned for us. And we're actually going to go with the return that Bassi got. So there's the kind of confirmation of Bassi's lately awarded DEF CON at 10 o'clock on Monday night. And Bassi, his name is called Calvin Bassi. And I was thinking to myself, you know what? Calvin Bassi, Calvinism is actually doctrine, if you like, that is taught in certain sects of, I say certain sects of Christianity. Some Christians believe in the sort of a Calvinistic sort of theology, and I'll explain in an absolute nutshell what that means. I've got this balance with it, which hopefully is a helpful balance that I'll explain to you. And a verse I'll use initially to sort of talk about this concept is in Psalm 46 verse 10. It says, "Be still and know that I am God." And it's this sense of just trusting God, being over everything in all situations. And no matter what's going on in your life, if you put your faith in God, you can actually find a sense of peace in trusting that God is sovereign, God is over things, God is ultimately in control. And I guess the Calvinism kind of theology is along the lines of just fully trusting God's control and sovereignty over literally absolutely every situation in life. And where this can be a real comfort is I think if you don't have a faith in God, you kind of are living your life on eggshells a little bit. Like every day you walk out your front door, I guess there's got to be an element of hope that, a bus doesn't run you over or something terrible doesn't happen. Or, do you know what I mean? Like without a faith in God, you're purely relying on yourself and chance to go your way. Whereas with God, if you believe in Him being over you and with you, and you've put your faith in Him, you can go into the world trusting that God is going to be with me and He won't allow anything outside of His control that is not in His will for me in that given day. Now, I'm somewhere in the middle because I believe absolutely humans have free will and things can happen and I can put myself in dangerous situations to sort of cause myself to be at risk. But if I apply an element of wisdom to my day and I trust God's sovereignty over my life, I don't need to walk on the level of eggshells that maybe other people do, and I can trust that He's with me and is going to help me. And there's a verse in Romans which says, "We know that God works all things together for good for those that love Him and are called according to His purpose." Now, the key there is those who love God and are called according to His purpose. So this is for Christians that put their faith in God. They can have the confidence that even some of the difficult things in life, God has a plan still to work for a greater good, which gives me peace. I can trust in whatever happens in my life, whatever God allows to happen in my life, He still wants to use that for good. And it just brings a whole lot of peace in terms of like living life day to day. And if you're not a Christian watching this, I just want to encourage you, like one, putting your faith in God gives you an element of security and knowing He's with you, He's over you, you're not on your own in day to day life. And also, linked to this kind of theology. in the book of Acts, there's a couple of verses that talk basically about how God has designed things in a way to help every single one of you, every single person in life, to come to know Him. And it says basically God's appointed people's times in history and the boundaries of their lands. God did this so that people would seek Him and perhaps reach out to Him and find Him, though He's not far from each one of us. So my encouragement to you, if you're not a Christian watching this, is maybe right now this is one of those moments where God has designed you to be in a situation where you've clicked on this video, you're hearing about Jesus and God who died for you that can be with you in day-to-day life. And there is an opportunity right now to respond to him and go, yeah, do you know what, God, I believe you. I want you to help me in life. I don't want to have to walk on eggshells. I want to accept what you've done for me, Jesus, in my life, accept your grace and forgiveness. And ultimately trust your hand over my life so that you can work everything for good in my life and that I can have that security of knowing you and being in relationship with you and finding joy and peace in you, knowing that, yeah, I'm not on my own, that you're with me. So please comment if you have any questions about that. I'd love to help you in your journeys of faith. But I hope that's an interesting and encouraging concept in relation to another real benefit, really, to putting your faith in God and yeah, becoming a Christian, essentially. So yeah, I'll leave that sort of part of the video there before it's too long. Moving into the fancy stuff, like I said, do comment if you have any questions about that. I'd love to help you. Um, so we got the five free transfers, not 10, five free transfers this week. So you want to make sure you use at least one of them this game week, otherwise you'll burn it. So it's a lovely position to be in. It's kind of like a mini wild card we've all been given. And if you've planned your team, I suppose like I have, where I don't have many AFCON players, you've kind of got luxury moves you can make where you're not actually having to deal with AFCON players that the transfers are rewarded for, really. Now, as you can see on the Bible FPL team, there's a few issues in the team outside of AFCON players. We've got a doggy that's injured. We've got Lucas Perez that's suspended. I mean, we're never depending on him anyway, but Dorgu's not starting games. Like our defence looks a shambles. That is the main area of shambles. It's the attack that's been doing bits for us lately. So a few transfer plans I'm thinking. And I'll talk you through why I'm selling Foden in a bit and why I don't think he is essential, like a lot of people are referring him to be. We'll get to that in a minute. And also, he isn't someone that's given like his faith to Jesus and this Jesus in life in a way where I feel like he is the most justified player to be used in this Bible FPL series. So I think one of our options is we put Foden down to an enabler and Ngamoa. He's got faith in God, justified for the series, and then we basically just beef up our defence. Now Munoz for Palace has been an unbelievable asset. He's proclaimed faith in Christ. There's no issue with him being in the series. Bassi, we're going to play for another week. He was there for a 2 week punt before he goes off to AFCON. Away to Burnley, lovely fixture. This week, at the very least. Another player I'm wanting to bring is actually Murillo of Forest again. Christian, good for DEFCON, decent enough fixtures outside of that City one. I think he could do well for us in this series, and he could kind of tick over with DEFCON clean sheets under Dyche. Good manager to play under defensively. And when Batty's got his fixture against Burnley out the way, I have enough to get in Lacroix into the team. And that basically then all of a sudden leaves us with a team where we've got Allison every week, we've got Timber, Munoz, Murillo as a back three, we've got Lacroix first bench, who's just a bit of a DEFCON daddy. Palace being a good defensive team. And then we've got a midfielder of Saka, Semenyo, Eze, Doku, and then Haaland, Mateta, and Thiago up front. And that means over this Christmas period, if there's some rotation with the likes of Eze and Doku, I've got the likes of Lacroix to come in. Hopefully, Dorgu's going to cop some more minutes because I think Mazwari's going off to AFCON. Is that how you say his name? I think there's some players there like Amad Diallo's going off to AFCON. All of a sudden, he might get more minutes. And then Ungamo might get the odd cameo for Liverpool. Alternatively, there's Andre Santos of Chelsea. I could bring in 4.5, but we'll see how the money's looking nearer the time and who's looking more likely to get some minutes, basically, as a third bench option. So that's how the Bible FPL team is looking. In terms of captaincy this week and tips for you guys as well, I think these are the four main captaincy options, right? So I think if Saka is given a rest slash starts on the bench against Bruges on Wednesday, he is by far for me the standout captain this week. Wolves looked awful against United, and the Saka against them on penalties could destroy them. It could be a field day that game. Basically top of the league, bottom of the league. Saka's my first choice if he's rested against Bruges. I think if Saka gets good minutes against Bruges, I'd be nervous that he doesn't get loads of good minutes against Wolves. Therefore, I'm very tempted by Thiago at home to Leeds. I just have a feeling, it's a gut feel partly, Also, he's been doing well this season with the returns. It's a nice fixture. It's the sort of fixture he could well return and get a brace in or something. So I'm looking at Thiago. There's a couple of differentials really I'm looking at this week outside of Haaland. I think Haaland obviously is a good pick still. I just think Palace have been defending really well this season. Away to Palace is not easy for City. And Palace have been a bit of a bogey team for City in recent years. So I think it's a week you could go against Haaland, and I'm feeling it. But obviously, if you want to play it safe, go Haaland. And then Jurrien Timber again. If he doesn't get too many minutes against Bruges, it looks like he's definitely going to start the weekend. Then also, I think if it looks like he's going to start right back in a more advanced position, I think he's a nice captaincy option. Home to Wolves could well get a clean sheet, should get a clean sheet. Defcon potential, attacking potential. All of a sudden, he could monster haul. So there's my four players, and I think that probably is in the order I'd captain them, assuming the minutes aren't looking too bad for Saka and Timber midweek. In terms of the Christmas tree that you'd have seen in the thumbnail, here's a recommendation for some top players I think are going to serve you really well over Christmas. Up front, and this is what's going to be my forward line on the main team, Bowen, Haaland, and Thiago. You just don't need to check the lineups really before games. You know Bowen's going to get 90, you know Thiago's going to get 90, and you know Haaland more or less, I think, is going to get 90, unless Mamouche pinches one game off him over this period. Those three are going to serve you beautifully over this congested Christmas period. And look, two of them on penalties and Bowen's West Ham's talisman on corners. They're just going to do nicely for you. And the fixtures are kind of there for all of them, really. Like Brentford coming to a lovely run now. West Ham, granted, away to City's not easy, but then look at that run there. It's really nice. And even if you wanted them this week, home to Villa's not an awful entry point. And then City have a continued nice run of fixtures. So they're wonderful picks. Bruno Fernandes has proven against Wolves. He's now the top scoring midfielder in the game. On penalties, defcon, assist threat. I don't need to talk too much about Bruno. His BPS, is high often. Great asset, almost essential, I'd argue, for the Christmas period. Declan Rice is going to continue to tick over for Arsenal. FPL Nightmare's been saying it for a while. Like this man is just ticking over every week with Defcon attacking returns. He's a good price. I think Rice could serve you nicely over Christmas. Semenyo being mass transferred out at the moment, but he is nailed in that Bournemouth team. He's their talisman. He's been so unlucky not to return lately. He will serve us well over Christmas, and I think Semenyo is a great pick for the Christmas run. Anderson for Forest, a great price, playing every week, defcon, attacking threat. I think he's a perfect first bench, in my opinion, to have in your team. Like, I don't get that excited about starting him, but if you ever needed him to come on as first bench, you'd be really happy with him probably getting a 4 point to the odd attacking return and stuff like that. Munoz, even though he's playing right wing back, is proving his minutes are just good week in, week out, and his attacking threat is off the scale. So I think Munoz for Palace is just a great pick that you could consider over the Christmas period. If you're slightly nervous about his minutes, go for Lacroix, but history tells us this man's a fitness beast. You probably don't need to worry about his minutes. And then Virgil, as bad as Liverpool have been, they've just been into 1-0 tonight. They've got great fixtures that are there, particularly this, like home to Wolves, home to Leeds coming up. Yeah, this man is going to get some clean sheets, I'm sure of it. He keeps getting defcon, he's got attacking goal threat. Again, he'll serve you well over the Christmas period. You don't need to worry about checking the lineups over the congested Christmas period with players that are going to get benched and rotated. Virgil is not going to be one of those. And I think, yeah, these are players that I've almost got all of them in my main team. And I feel really good about that, to be honest, in this run where there's going to be a lot of rotation for a lot of players, but these are the sort of guys you're not going to have to worry about that with. So there's some players I'd really shout out for this run, and you might want to get on this week. Um, is Phil Foden essential? As you notice, he's not on the Christmas tree. I think he is slightly more prone to rotation. I think his minutes have been very good, but over this congested run, he's going to get the odd benching, surely. History tells us that with Pep and with City players. And why is he not essential? Well, partly the fixtures away to Palace is tough this week. He's on good form, granted. He may well return. Is he going to haul though? I'd be surprised if he hauls at Palace. If he gets you a return, I think you'd be pleased. I think you'd take that all day long away to Palace. Home to West Ham, I'm a bit nervous about, granted. But who's to say that's the game he doesn't get a benching in? Then it's away to Forest. Again, under Dyche, that'll be difficult. I'd be surprised if he hauled. Away to Sunderland, it's been very difficult this season. I'd be surprised if he hauled. Home to Chelsea, difficult fixture. Chelsea, a decent team. Home to Brighton, you could argue is not a bad fixture. Brighton have conceded a few goals this season, but they've been more tight recently. But even then, it's like, well, if you wanted to get him in near this time, I don't know. There's a bunch of games there that we've looked at that we've gone congested period, not the easiest of fixtures overall. Could be a bit of rotation. He's going to struggle to haul in those games. I don't think he's essential. Is he a good option? Yes, of course he is. He's in a purple patch at the moment. I'm probably being stubborn and avoiding him. He probably will tick over with the odd return over this run, and you'll be happy with that. But is he going to do the damage he's done over the last 3 weeks? I'd be very surprised if he does, if I'm honest, unless it's this home to West Ham fixture. But even then, West Ham made it difficult for United the other game and Brighton the other day too. So there's my opinions on Foden. If you want him, great, go for him. I think he's a good option. But don't feel like you have to get him into your team because he's going to haul every single week. Because I'd be surprised if he does. But, prove me wrong, Foden. Um, if you want to. Finally, the main team. This is the team that smashed it this week. A tale of two Bruno's, Bruno Fernandes, Bruno Guimaraes. Delighted with the returns there. Guimaraes I brought in for Reinders. Really pleased with that sub. Reinders got benched. Bruno hauled. Scored direct from the corner. There's the Bowen return I'm talking about, where he is going to tick over with returns over this period. And then Donnarumma clean sheet. It was nice to get a clean sheet for Donnarumma as another return since I brought him in for the price you're paying for that kind of level of goalkeeper. So yeah, it was a nice set of returns this week. No complaints at all with the Bible. I'm sorry, with the main team. And in terms of transfer plans, real quickly, this is how the team would currently look. I think it looks really nice. I think if Rice is declared fit, I might bring him in for Minte to get an extra Wolves. Sorry, Arsenal player for that Wolves fixture. I've already done Thiago in for Mateta early to save a zero point 0.2 sort of swing money wise. So I think the team looks good. I think, like I said, I'm very tempted by Thiago as captain on this team. However, if Saka's minutes get really managed against Bruges, I'll be terrified not owning Saka against that Wolves team. So the final thing I'll show you is these. This is how the team would look. I think if I need to get in Saka. I'd managed to get Minte up to Saka by going Bowen down to Guiu. Now, I know I've just raved about Bowen. The plan would be to get Bowen back in a couple of weeks' time once he's got Villa and City out of the way. And then I also could potentially get an Anderson of Fulham to then let me play. Basically, I think it would be a 4-4-2 this game week. And it would look like a very strong 4-4-2. And it would mean I could captain Saka, get that coverage for that fixture, and happy days, basically. So that's how the main team could be looking, either just a simple Declan Rice in for Minte. By the way, I think Minte's fine to hold if you're questioning it. I've had this conversation with a friend recently. Way to Liverpool probably is a good fixture for him. Although Liverpool have just done a bit better tonight. Home Sunderland could be tricky with how Sunderland are doing, but you still think he could do something. Away to Arsenal's tough. Like there's some tough fixtures there, in the short term. But then long term, he has got some nice fixtures. So if you want to hold him, fine. I just feel like for me and my team, I'd like a bit of Rice in there. I feel like he'd be a slight upgrade, and he's a player that would tick over in a way that wouldn't annoy me as much over this run. Whereas I think Minte's a bit of a inconsistent one that can have a great game some weeks and then just have a really frustrating game other weeks. So over this Christmas period, I just feel more at peace of Rice, and that's the logic there. Unless I ending up wangling Saka in, and then the plan completely changes with something like this. So I'll leave it there before the video is too long. I hope it's been helpful for some of the tips I've shared. I hope the Bible stuff was helpful. Like I said, do comment if you have any questions about that or the fancy football stuff. But yeah, for now, I do hope your arrows are green. And yeah, I guess I will very much look forward to catching you all on the next one.